Well, the Parliamentary Budget Officer today officially launched a new role for the office. Beginning next month, the PBO will be available to analyze the election promises of political parties, subjecting them to the same level of scrutiny applied to the spending plans of the federal government. But there's a catch. The office won't examine party platforms unless the parties ask for it. Let's take a closer look at how all of this is going to work. Yves Giroux is the Parliamentary Budget Officer, and he joins me now. Good to see you again. You're a regular guest here because your office has been busy, and now it sounds like it's going to get even busier as we ramp up to an election campaign starting towards the end of June. So tell me how this is going to work. How will you be providing this kind of analysis of party platforms for Canadians, and how will they know about it?
So first of all, political parties have to ask for us to cost specific proposals that are part of their campaign platforms. So they come to us, they ask us to cost something, whatever the proposal is.
Or maybe the whole platform, whatever, you know.
It could be, but if it was the whole platform, would be very, very busy, depending on the size of the platform.
So have you told them that? Have you said, look, come to us with individual items as opposed to, say, dump a platform on us and say, can you cost it for us in the next week? You know?
Yes, we've had discussions with parties saying if you want us to cost a series of measures, it will take us some time. So if you plan on doing that, start early rather than on the eve of the election, because that by then it might be too late.
So that could be as early as, I think, the 23rd of June. You said we're ready to do it.
Exactly. So it starts June 23rd by legislation, 120 days before a fixed election date, which this year is October 21st.
Now, we should point out this is not something you decided to do on your own. This was something I think the PBO had been asking for, but Parliament conferred this on you. Right?
Yes, it was legislative amendments tabled by the government and approved by Parliament in 2017. And to my knowledge, my predecessor did not ask for that. It was rather imposed on the office. It's the will of Parliament, so they voted for that and they approved that, which is fine.
Fair enough. Let's. What have you heard from the parties? Who's in?
We've had extensive discussions with political parties, all those that are represented in the House. And we've had strong interest from many parties. We've also had questions from some about the mechanics, how it will work, because for them it's a sensitive topic, obviously. If they are to give us some of their platform proposals before they make them public, they want to ensure that these remain confidential until they are comfortable announcing that. So we've had some comments and questions around that. We think we have addressed the concerns that have been raised, but with respect to which party have confirmed that they will ask for our services and which ones have not yet confirmed, I'll let the political parties themselves decide whether they want to show their cards.
You're not comfortable putting that information out there.
It's not my role to review
it's mine,
that.
So I can do. Let me do it for you. So the Green Party said they're in. The NDP says it's looking forward to working with the PBO. The Liberals say they're in. I have not heard from Maxime Bernier's People's Party of Canada, but the Conservatives have told me that for the moment that's being discussed, but they're going to be using an outside agency to review their costing. Do you have any reaction to that? That one party might say there's something about the. Is there something about your office and conversations you've had with the Conservatives that they're not interested in having you review their spending policies?
Well, not to reveal any discussions we've had with specific parties, but it's fine if some parties want to go to outside organizations to have costing. The advantage of going to the PBO is that it's a nonpartisan, independent organization that has no partisan bias whatsoever.
Have any parties questioned your nonpartisanship?
No, that's not been put into question whatsoever by anybody, at least not in discussions with us. The office is very credible, so if they want to avail themselves of that service, I think it's to their advantage, but if for whatever reason they want to go elsewhere, I think it'll be up to them to decide and up to Canadians to make judgments on these decisions. It's not for me to judge that.
Okay, was any thought given, so the way this works, the parties have to ask you to review, like for instance, for the purpose of discussion, could the NDP ask you to review a promise from the Conservatives?
We've made that clear that the service has to be used to cost the party's own platform proposals.
Coming from the party as a request. You're not interested in having parties try to hold up other platforms to see if they can find fault with them.
Exactly. So we've made that clear to parties that they should not be using our services with the sole intention of undermining other parties' proposals.
Okay. What do you think the voter gets out of this?
I think the voter gets tremendous benefits in the sense that they get fair and unbiased information, like clear information that's nonpartisan, unbiased, not spun in a way that makes the party looks better. It costs accurately political parties' platform proposals, So that's the big benefit that Canadians get out of that, unbiased and nonpartisan information.
And that'll be first, right? I mean, parties can go out, and parties have gone out and say, here's our plan for healthcare. It's been costed by this particular accounting firm or that firm or this organization or that organization. We've had some of that before, but we've never had it done by the parliamentary budget officer in this country.
You're right.
What about other countries?
Australia does that, and the Netherlands, to our knowledge, are the two main countries that have something that is similar, although not identical. The guidelines and the practice in these two countries of publishing the estimates they provide to parties are different, slightly different, but it's the other main two countries that do it, and it's a first in Canada.
All right, so let me walk through. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but it's important for people to understand the process because you want to know what you're going to get as a voter. So such and such party comes to you and says, here's our plan for healthcare, we want you to cost it. Here's what we're prepared to put out this, and you come and your analysis says, no, you're nowhere close to correct, it's going to cost way more, or you need to cut way more, whatever it is you have to do. Once they've approached you, is the quid pro quo then that if you come to us, we are publishing our findings whether you want them or not?
Not at that point. If they approach us, they ask us to cost something, we provide them with a cost estimate and they say, whoa, way too expensive, we're not going to go there. If they never make that commitment public, we don't release the costing estimate. So they get the benefit of a service that they can turn their back on a specific campaign proposal they had in mind. But once they make that commitment public, we release that publicly. Our cost estimate is released publicly.
Are you concerned that that parties will be basically trying to get you to do their work? They'll float a bunch of ideas with you before they ever test drive them on the public. Is that what you're there for?
I think that's the intent of the legislation because it's all stated in legislation, what I explained to you.
Yes.
They can ask us, we have to provide cost estimate, and we are bound to release it only when and if a party makes that commitment public. So before they make that public, we cannot release it. So it's the way the legislation has been drafted.
Okay, so it's not, so the purpose of this process is not to potentially justify a party's plan or call it into question. This in fact gives them a heads up if they want before they actually push ahead with it. We want to do this, let's run the costing we think we have by the PBO. The PBO comes back and says, no, you're way wrong. Either they amend it, change it, or decide not to proceed with it, but the public may never know that they were thinking of it. That's a downside, isn't it?
A downside if you're from the public, an upside, obviously, if you're one of the political parties, you get the benefit of unbiased information, nonpartisan.
Yeah, unbiased pairs of eyes on it before you try to run it by the public.
Exactly. So it allows parties to develop proposals that will be properly costed. It also allows them to withdraw some of their proposals that might otherwise be put on the table, with them not knowing how much it will exactly cost. But when they have the information, we'll provide them the analysis and the costing. They may change their mind and think it's too expensive or not expensive enough.
Okay,
you never know.
I think you've had to hire some extra people to be able to do this process. What happens after the election? The people stay or the people go?
People stay. The mandate of the office has been expanded to respond to parliamentarians' requests. So when that period kicks in, we stop all work on other things. So we devote ourselves entirely to that new mandate. So after the election, we go back to assisting parliamentarians and Canadians.
We see a lot of you already in this studio because you're producing a lot of stuff. I guess we're going to see more of you during election campaign.
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not. All right, Yves Giroux, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.